Hey folks, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the film Hereditary, which opened on the 6th of June, so not too long ago. I saw it on opening night. Before I get into my thoughts, I want to preface this video by saying why I have not been making videos, why I've been inconsistent with my content. Namely, it's because I'm not sure about the direction for this channel, what type of content I want to do, whether it's on comic books, whether it's on film reviews, whether it's on horror media that I like. Maybe start a new channel and pick a specific direction I want to take. But while I'm figuring that out, I did want to give my thoughts on Hereditary because my thoughts are different from most. A lot of folks are calling this film a masterpiece, even those that like horror films. So the horror fans, the horror movie reviewers on YouTube have said a lot of positive things about this film. Most of the reviews that you're going to find on YouTube are positive. So I just wanted to juxtapose that with my thoughts and share with you why I didn't like the film. And I'm going to not spoil the film because this is still a new film. Some people are still waiting to see it. So I'm not going to spoil the film at all. If anyone is interested, maybe I will make a spoiler review later on. So that said, I'll begin by saying that I appreciated the cinematography and the performances. The director really has a talent for setting up scenes, for maximizing and really utilizing the scenery and the set pieces to great use. The performances really are great for the most part. I would say the first 2/3 of this film really are exceptional. And unfortunately, it's when we get into the actual paranormal aspects of this film that the story really suffers. A horror film needs to either be really entertaining or it needs to have some sort of insight, some sort of truth to it that you can take away and kind of, nibble on, think about, digest. And I didn't find this film entertaining, and I didn't feel like it had anything worthwhile to say. I invested in these characters. I really started to care for Toni Collette's mother, all the horrible things that she has to endure just in this film alone. And then through exposition, hearing about the things that she has been grieving over. This film begins with this family grieving over the loss of their grandmother. And from there, further tragedy strikes this family. And unfortunately, most of the weight for this film doesn't come from horror or from scares. It comes from tragedy and from shocking elements. This film is really more shocking and unsettling than scary or horrifying. This film is really more a family drama than a horror film. And for a film that marketed itself as this scary paranormal haunted house film, a movie that was supposed to be, the scariest film of our age, it fails in all those regards. There are some scenes that will stick with you, that will spook you, for sure. There's just not enough. The horror elements are used so sparingly that by the time that they are introduced, when they occur, they actually kind of feel out of place in the film. And so when I adjusted my expectations partway through the film, I realized I wasn't going to get the film as I as I thought was advertised. I adjusted for this kind of paranormal family drama, and I still left unsatisfied because I invested in these characters, and by film's end, I just didn't care about them anymore, and I hated the way the film ends. Michael Caine's character in The Prestige talks about what makes a magic trick work. And in that film, it also kind of tells you what makes a story satisfying. And there are three major points to a magic trick. I am paraphrasing here, but the first thing is to make something disappear. But Michael Caine makes this disclaimer that that's not enough to make a magic trick. You have to have those other elements. I think the three elements are the pledge, the turn, and the prestige. Anyways, the whole point of this comment here about the prestige is you have to be able to bring something back. There has to be a a reconciliation. There has to be a moment of restitution, a revelation, something to bring balance back into the film, because this film takes an emotional toll on people. It takes from you, it takes your hope. It takes your any of the light or appreciation that you have for these characters. It takes from you those things. And it never really fully gives something satisfactory back. So the film is unbalanced. It's not a fun or entertaining ride, and I understand that this film was never supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be like a thinking man's horror film. But there isn't much to think about after the film. I mean, there are plot elements to there are dots to try to connect, and there are things to try to piece together, but nothing really that I feel is worth an audience's time going over. I do struggle to understand those that really like this film, because it's just very dark and depressing. And there are horror films that are dark and depressing that have, unpleasant conclusions. The evil wins, if you will. And a lot of those are in the found footage category. All the paranormal activity films end with, no survivors. The Saw films rarely have a survivor. But those films are not held to the same standard that Hereditary was. And for whatever reason, the reviewers give it a pass. I feel like they're giving this film a pass, because to end on such a sour note does not work in favor to this story that the director is trying to tell. At least for me, the way I take the story of this film, which I feel is actually very straightforward and not as complex or convoluted as people are pointing it out to be. It's actually a very straightforward film. I feel like a better conclusion could have been crafted and would have made for a more masterful film. Those are my thoughts on this film in general. If you are interested in hearing specific thoughts about the scenes in this film, a spoiler review, please let me know. If you saw this film, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. What did you think? If you're a horror fan, did it meet your expectations as a horror film? Did you care about these characters by film's end? Did you gain any insights? Did you find any redeeming value in this film? Because aside from the cinematography and the solid performances, there's very little else to like in this film, unfortunately. So, those are my thoughts. Take care.